You will drown in eternal night.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Mortal Kombat mobile character review. Today we are taking a closer look at Bone Shaper Shinnok, and we will go through all of his attacks, his basic attacks, his special attacks, his X-ray, his passive. Let's go! Bone Shaper Shinnok is part of the Elder God and Netherrealm class, and his passive is called God of Death. For each defeated fighter on any team, Shinnok's attack increases by 25%. On an enemy resurrect, Shinnok's attack increases by 25%. Bone Shaper Shinnok started his career in MK Mobile with update 1.7 alongside characters such as Undead Hunter Johnny Cage, today known as Strikeforce Johnny Cage, and Kraken Reptile. He has always been a challenge card and first was available via his early access pack, and he was maxed out with level 50 and Fusion 7. Also, his old passive hasn't changed ever since. And of course, apart from him being added to the challenge pack in the old store, you could buy him for 385 souls. Ever since he was available in several other packs, and now in the new store he is available for 450 souls. After the level cap was raised with update 1.18, he is now maxed out with level 60 and Fusion X. Shinnok's gear piece is Shinnok's amulet, and it gives you 45% recovery boost, 20% power generation boost, which is for Shinnok characters only, and 25% chance to convert 50% damage to health on special attack 2. In terms of his feats of strength, he will have to perform 1500 special 2 attacks to unlock his rune. For his victory stances, he has to win 750 matches in Faction Wars. For his taunts, he has to perform 250 X-ray / Fatal Blow attacks. For his icons, he has to perform 2000 special 1 attacks. For his backgrounds, he has to knock out 1000 enemies. And for his titles, he has to perform 3000 combo enders. And now we are going to take a closer look at the victory stances one by one, starting off with victory. Next would be warming up. Third will be unadulterated evil. And exclusive for Bone Shaper Shinnok only, God of Death. And on your victory screen, it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of his backgrounds. Next up we have the icons. And finally the titles. Bone Shaper Shinnok has 2 kinds of combo enders. For the first one, he uses his weapon to push the opponent back, leaving him on his feet, which makes it ideal for follow-up attacks. On his second combo ender, he will pull out his scepter and knock the opponent down to the ground, kind of blasting him with some kind of magic. And yes, I will spare you any kind of Queen-esque vocal performance attempts. His special 1 attack is called Crushing Shoulder and it has a Dispel buff tied to it. With Dispel you can remove all kinds of negative effects, be it burning, fire, poison, bleed, even snare. And what you also should know about this attack is that this attack is capable of knocking out your opponent. His special 2 attack is called Conquer All and it has a blindness debuff tied to it. Here once again Shinnok's weapon comes into the play, and this one is a quite long one, but at least it gives you some time to think about new strategies. But also you should know that this attack is capable of knocking out your opponents as well. His X-Ray is called the Devil's Hand and it has a Curse debuff tied to it. Curse makes the opponent take more damage on critical hits, so it's not one of the really useful ones. And of course this X-Ray animation is also identical with the one of his Vengeful variation. But I find this X-Ray is one of the best looking ones we have in the game overall. When it comes to the passive, there is not much to see. He will get 25% stronger each time he defeats an opponent or a resurrection happens. So yeah, there is that. But now it's time for some gear recommendations, and my choice number 1 goes to Moloch's Ball and Chain, which gives you a chance of unblockable special attacks, a chance for free special 2 attacks on top, and as a third bonus you also have the chance to deal lethal blows. Choice number 2 goes to the Vial of Infinite Blood for a chance of basic block breaks in combination with dealing bleed effects on combo ender performance. This one especially comes in handy if you play him with Moloch's Ball and Chain, the Wrathhammer, the Bloody Tomahawk, everything that is not a block-breaking weapon. For example, like the Rusty Chainsaw here. The Rusty Chainsaw adds the power cost reduction by use of Special 2, leaving you still with a Special 1 left. Also a chance for basic block breaks as already mentioned, and very useful if you play him for example with his amulet. So that would be my choice number 3. Choice number 4 goes to the Living Dead armor, reanimating Shinnok from the dead once he is knocked out for the first time, also giving you health back when performing an X-Ray, which always totally makes sense if you are thinking about the lore of Shinnok and who Shinnok is. But the winner in my book and the best gear piece to play with him is Shinnok's amulet, giving you health back on Special 2, at least potentially, giving him the power generation and all that beautiful stuff. So Shinnok's amulet is a must on Shinnok. In terms of my favorite loadout, it would be the Rusty Chainsaw, the Living Dead armor, and Shinnok's amulet, all stuff that is already in the recommendations here. I'm just going with this basic setup and it always works perfectly for him. Next up we would have the character recommendation, and my first choice goes to Elder God Kenshi. He will give a bar of power to Shinnok each time he knocks an opponent out with a special attack. On top he gives Elder God teammates complete immunity to critical attacks, and in return they get plus 20% critical hit chance on basic attacks. Choice number 2 goes to Warlock Quan Chi, who will reanimate Shinnok upon death with 25% health. And there is really not that much else to him. because he just reanimates, but if you think about the passive of Shinnok, once he reanimates somebody else in your team, then Shinnok will get this extra 25% extra damage. Then choice number 3 goes to Vengeful Shinnok, who will add 20% critical chance to Netherrealm teammates. And of course, if you combine that with Elder God Kenshi, then you already have a quite solid percentage, which you could even boost with gear and of course the talent tree. Choice number 4 goes to Classic Goro, adding 20% attack boost to any teammate he's paired up with. So that is basically giving 1 Wrath Hammer to every character in your team just for having Goro with you. And the winner in my book is Slasher Jason Voorhees. Since he resurrects twice, he will already boost the attack of Bone Shaper Shinnok by 50% just for constantly dying, and of course once he dies again we are at 75. Bone Shaper Shinnok is without a doubt one of the quite interesting challenge characters, although I have to admit that I kind of rarely play him, despite being mainly focused on Netherrealm characters myself. I just have this extreme fable for playing Netherrealm characters, but when it comes to Bone Shaper Shinnok there was always something that never really was that appealing to me, and instead I always went rather for the vengeful variation instead. But that doesn't mean that I don't like Bone Shaper Shinnok. He's a pretty cool character. I find the special 2 looks a little bit weird and stiff with this giant weapon. Not even sure if we would kind of classify that as a spear or as a pike or something. But that is not the point, it's just, I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day I don't find his passive that useful or that necessary, because when playing Netherrealm characters I rarely have the problem to really get into trouble. I can manage with almost every Netherrealm team, and then just having one character who gets stronger on death of others, I don't know, not really that important to me. But now it's time for the pros and cons again, and my very first pro is of course the Dispel on Special 1. Getting rid of negative effects is always super useful, and now that we have quite a few characters that deal frostbite, even aside from Sub-Zero Triborg, this spell comes quite in handy. My second pro would be actually his passive. I mean, it's a cool thing, even though I don't really need it, as I already said, but having a character that gets stronger all the time, it is a very interesting situation if you just leave Shinnok tagged out and leave him until everybody else on the field has died and then tag him in, because then he will basically be unstoppable. He will be an absolute worthy Elder God, dealing insane amounts of damage with basically every attack he launches. My third and final pro, I already mentioned it, but it's the X-ray animation. I find this X-ray animation really to be one of those who look the best in the entire game. I love the skeleton hand coming out of the ground, grabbing the opponents, squeezing them. It just looks gorgeous. It is so menacing. It is so made from hell. And that is absolutely worthy for a Netherrealm character, especially when we come to talk about the ruler of the Netherrealm. His fighting style would be maybe one of the first cons that I would list here. It doesn't really look that good, and it also doesn't really feel very smooth. It feels very stiff and clunky, even though it's serviceable and you can absolutely manage to fight with Shinnok. It's just more a visual thing. And that carries also over to the weird looking Special 2 with his giant long lance, or whatever you want to call this thing, made out of bones. It just looks like he's stumbling across the battlefield, even though he deals solid damage with that thing, but somehow I don't really like how it looks. My third con, and that's Probably no surprise to you at all, it's the weird hat collection. I already mentioned it as I did the review for Vengeful Shinnok. I always find it so weird what he wears on his hat, but it's not an overall design thing because I think they did a very great job when it comes to the armor and the entire rest of his appearance. And let's get real, if I look at Shinnok in MK4, I will take the MKX version of Shinnok any day over that. But now it's time for a final rating, and I will give Bone Shaper Shinnok a 7 out of 10. He is a good character, he is a good challenge card. He may not be outstanding or amazing in any shape or form, but he is absolutely serviceable, and that's already a pretty good thing. And yeah, that was my review for Bone Shaper Shinnok in a nutshell for you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this review. And I am aware that Bone Shaper Shinnok is not exactly a fan favorite, but here a question to you guys directly. Please answer in the comments, which is your favorite character to play together with Bone Shaper Shinnok? Which one makes your team shine the most? Thank you for tuning in. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. In case you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button twice just to make sure. And if you want to support the channel a little further, please consider joining the Patreon family of KC Mobile Gaming. You can already do that with as little as just $1 a month. And also follow me on social media like Twitter and Facebook. You will find all the necessary information in the description below of every video. If you want to see more content, then why don't you just click on one of those two videos here. Thank you for your support. Have a good one. KC over and out for today.